Okay, so today we'll finish up the notes on section 1.4b. This WebAssign homework is due on Friday. It involves completing the square. Yesterday, we did the simpler completing the square where there was not a number in front of x squared. Today, I'm going to do some examples where there's a number in front of x squared. So we always need to check to make sure that there isn't a number. If there is, we need to get rid of it. So I need to divide all of my terms here by 9 to get rid of that coefficient in front of x squared. So I'm going to divide this one by 9, 9, 9. Technically the 0 is divided by 9, but that'll just be a 0. So then this now leaves me with x squared minus, and I'm going to simplify 12 over 9. I'm going to make it 4/3 minus 1/9 equals 0. So now what I can do is move my constant. Now the steps are the same. So I move the constant to the other side. X squared minus 4/3 x, leave a blank space, equals 1/9. Process is still the same. I take the b term. I'm going to divide it by 2. So negative 4/3. Divide by 2 is the same thing as multiply by a half. Think about it. When you're dividing fractions, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So whenever we have a fraction that we're going to try to divide by 2, just multiply it by a half. I could simplify diagonally here. I can make this a 1, make this a 2. And this will actually simplify into negative 2/3. This is what I'm going to square. And what I'm going to be adding to both sides is 4/9. So over here, I'm going to add 4 over 9. But again, remember over here, I'm putting it in what it was when I divided it by 2. That way, when I go to factor this trinomial that looks like it's got nasty fractions, it makes it a lot simpler. So now the factoring of that perfect square trinomial is just x minus 2/3 squared. That's my whole reason of just putting it in here as it was right here when I just divided it by 2. The other side, I actually have to add those fractions. Luckily, I already have a common denominator. 1 plus 4 is 5, so it equals 5/9. Now I use my square root method, and I'm going to square root both sides. And then out of that is going to come x minus 2/3 is equal to plus and minus. And again, I could root these separately. I could do the square root of 5, square root of 9, and this becomes square root of 5 over 3, because 9 is a perfect square. I now need to isolate the variable, so I'm going to add 2/3 to both sides. And now I'm left with x is equal to 2/3 plus or minus the square root of 5 over 3. And now I'm done. Again, on WebAssign, it's going to expect you to pull them apart. So you would do 2/3 minus square root of 5 over 3, and then 2/3 plus square root 5 over 3. Keep in mind, if you ever see this on an SAT, they might also combine it since it has a common denominator. They might just put it with one single 3 under both. But WebAssign is going to expect you to do it like that. On the test, I would be okay with you leaving it like that. This is not on the quiz tomorrow, but be aware of how to do this completing the square. Okay, because the homework is Friday. All right, let's try the next one. It also has a coefficient in front of x squared, so I have to get rid of it. So I'm going to divide everything by 3. So then I am ending up with x squared plus 2/3 x minus 5/3 equals 0. Move the constant. Leave the blank space. So x squared plus 2/3 x, blank space, equals 5 over 3. I now have to take my b term, divide it by 2. Again, it's a fraction, so I'm going to multiply it by 1/2. So 2/3 times 1/2 equals 2. I could simplify diagonally. Let me do that. So I could simplify the 2's, and then this is just 1/3. This is what I'm going to be squaring. So the number I'm adding to both sides is 1/9. But on the left side, I put this. So this is for the left. This is for the right. So in here, I'm putting 1/3 squared. But over here, I'm putting 1/9. And now I need to factor the left side and add the fractions on the right side. This factors into x plus 1/3 squared. And then now I'm going to add 5/3 plus 1/9. I need to find a common denominator. My common denominator is going to be 9. So this is actually going to turn into 15/9. And then when I add it, I get 16/9. Now I apply the square root method. Notice both the numerator and the denominator here are perfect squares. So when I square root it, I'm going to end up getting x plus 1/3 is equal to plus and minus 4/3. Now, again, remember when your radical disappears, we actually have to do the math here. So I'm going to subtract the 1/3. And now I have x is equal to negative 1/3 plus or minus 4/3. So here I'm going to do my two problems. I need to do x equals negative 1/3 minus 4/3 and x equals negative 1/3 plus 4/3. So again, I'm taking the minus one, putting it here, taking the addition problem, putting it here. Now I have to do the math. They already have common denominators. So this one is actually going to become negative 5/3. And then this one's going to become 3/3, which equals 1. So my two solutions are negative 5/3 and positive 1. Try a couple more. All right, so let's do number 8. Again, can't have a number in front of x squared, so I need to divide everything by 3. This becomes x squared minus 4/3 minus 1/3 equals 0. Next step is to move the constant to the other side. X squared minus, and this has an x here, sorry, 4/3 x, blank space, and now the 1/3's on the other side. Next step, take the b term, divide it by 2, which is multiply by 1/2. So negative 4/3 times 1/2. Again, simplify here. And then this becomes negative 2/3. This is what I'm squaring. And it becomes 4/9. So I'm going to add this to the right, this to the left. So this will be my left. So I'm going to put in here plus negative 2/3 squared, and then plus the 4/9. So that's for the right. Again, I need to factor the left side. Again, don't worry about thinking about factoring because we put this in here like this. That's going to be my factor. I actually do have to add the fractions here. 1/3 plus 4/9. I need to find a common denominator. It's going to be a 9. So 1/3 becomes 3/9. And then when I add that, I get 7/9. Apply the square root method. Again, you can square root them separately. So this becomes x minus 2/3 is equal to plus and minus the square root of 7, and 9's a perfect square, so it comes out as a 3. I'm going to add the 2/3. X is equal to 2/3 plus or minus square root of 7 over 3. And you're done. Again, for WebAssign, you're going to pull it apart. Number 9, we got to get rid of the 5. Pretty good? So for number 9, I'm going to divide everything by 5. And then I'm left with x squared minus 7 over 5x minus 1/5 equals 0. I'm going to move the 1/5 to the other side, move the constant. X squared minus 7 over 5x, blank space, equals 1/5. Take the b term, divide it by 2, which is the same thing as multiply by the reciprocal, which is 1/2. And this becomes negative 7 over 10. This is what I'm going to be adding to the left, this number squared. And then to the right, I square it, and I get 49 over 100. So in here, I'm putting plus the negative 7/10 squared. Over here, I'm adding 49 over 100. I need to factor the left side. It just becomes x minus 7 over 10 squared. The right side, I got to add these. Common denominator is 100. So my 1/5 with a common denominator of 100 is going to become 20 over 100. And now I can add that, and I end up with 69 over 100. I now apply the square root method. And I'm left with x minus 7 over 10 is equal to plus or minus 69 over 10. I can't break 69 down. I'm going to leave it alone. And then I just move the 7 over 10. X is equal to 7 over 10 plus or minus the square root of 69 over 10. And again, WebAssign wants you to pull them apart. Last example, and then I'm going to do one more where there's no solution because you're going to have a no solution answer in your homework tonight. Or that's due Friday, sorry. Again, number in front of x squared has to be a positive 1, so I need to divide everything here by a negative 1. So this becomes x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. Take the b term, divide it by 2. So negative 3, and I'm just going to leave it a fraction. I'm going to square it. I get 9 over 4. This is what I'm adding to the left. This is what I'm adding to the right. So x, oh, I got to move my constant too. Let me move that first. So add the 5. So x squared minus 3x. I'm filling in with the negative 3 over 2 squared equals 5 plus 9 over 4. I need to factor the left, x minus 3 over 2 squared. I need to add the 5 plus the 9, so 5 over 1 plus 9 over 4. I'm adding this. Common denominator is 4. This will become 20 over 4. So when I add it, I get 29 over 4. And now I apply the square root method. Square root that side, that side. I now end up with x minus 3 over 2 is equal to plus or minus square root of 29 over 2. Move the 3 over 2. X is equal to 3 over 2 plus or minus square root of 29 over 2. Now, one more just to show you what's going to happen when we get a negative number under the radical. When we cover complex numbers in section 1.5 in the next lesson, we'll actually be able to get a solution. However, this is good information for an SAT. So one extra example, because in the homework that's due Friday, you'll have a question like this. Negative x squared plus x minus 1 equals 0. If they're only asking you for real solutions, if you get a negative number under the radical or the square root, when you do that last step, then you say no solution. In section, I believe it's 1.5, we're going to learn how to find negative square roots. But again, here's what we need to do. Divide everything by negative 1. X squared minus x plus 1 equals 0. Take the b term, which is the negative 1, divide it by 2. So it's just 1/2. Square it. What we're adding to the right side is going to be 1/4. To the left side, that's what I'm going to fill in there. So move my constant. X squared minus 1x, leave a blank space, equals negative 1. In here, I'm going to put the plus negative half squared, and over here plus 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and factor the left side, so x minus 1/2 squared. And then I need to add this common denominator, change the negative 1 into negative 4/4, which gives me negative 3/4. Right now, when I apply the square root method, I don't know how to take the square root of a negative number. Soon as I see that this is negative, if they're asking me to find only real solutions, this one is going to give me an imaginary number. So the answer here is no solution. Okay? But in the next section, we are going to learn how to find negative square roots. We're going to be introduced to the letter I. That is it for the completing the square notes. Just remember that when there is a number in front of x squared, you got to get rid of it. Keep in mind, and I don't want to take too much time, if I give you a question that's got a fraction in front, then you're just going to multiply everything by the reciprocal. So just to show you, like if I gave you something like this, 2/3 x squared minus 1/5 x minus 2 equals 0. To get rid of this fraction, what you would really be doing is multiplying everything by the reciprocal. So you would distribute a reciprocal, and that would get rid of it. But then the process is the same. So if the instructions say give only real solutions, then your answer to this problem is no solution. And you're going to get that in the homework tonight, or that's due Friday. Just read. I don't know if they want you to type in no solution or DNE. Just read the questions. And that is it for completing the square. Pretty good?